We're live. We're live.
Good morning, good afternoon.
You're live.
Hello, everybody. We've made it to the fourth Create Impact session, and today we have, I'm pointing to you, Tia, Kansara. The cat in the room. Please tell us where you're listening from. We're going to make this very interactive today. And please have a look at the question that we have on the screen. How do you create impact in a changing climate? We'd love to hear your answers. Let's get the communication thread going.
Great question.
Please tell us where you're tuning in from as well. How are you, Adam? The fourth one in this series, mate. How are you feeling?
Mate, I'm pumped. I'm pumped. It's good to be here.
Are you a bit sad that this is the last one?
Mate, I don't think it is going to be the last one, Luke.
That's exactly
it's going to be the last one. I think it's the last one in this series.
Yes,
but it seems to have gone pretty well. We might have to change the host, but we can talk through that. Joking, mate. Yeah, I'm pumped. Good to be here.
And Tia, welcome aboard. We will do a proper introduction to you very shortly.
Thank
you're
you.
Joining us from where? Where are you joining us from today?
I'm actually in Lichfield.
Where's that?
So Lichfield is just north of Birmingham, but it's one of those places that is really famous for Erasmus Darwin. Darwin, as we know, him's grandfather.
Yeah, right. There we go. There's a bit of trivia.
One piece of information that clearly would have been
interesting.
There we go.
Well, we've got a few people closer from home. We've got Bondi. We've got all up the coast by the looks of it as well. We've got Byron Bay. Greg Silver's in Byron Bay. Thank you, Greg, for tuning in from Byron Bay.
So please make sure you tell us where you're listening from today. We're going to start the presentation off shortly. We're just waiting for a few more people to join the room and answer the question on the slide if you can. How do you create impact in a changing climate? Can you give some examples, Tia, so we can get the rooms moving?
Yeah, definitely.
How are you doing it? How are you doing it?
Yeah, what am I doing? So it's kind of like, a lot moving at the moment. COVID, you've got, of course, climate change is one of those things that has been in our life for quite some time. So creating impact can be artistic, it could be intellectual, it could be some sort of skill that you're using that you think can really make an impact in your time right now during COVID. Corona is one of those moments that has got us all, in lockdown and, concerned. But if you were to actually have an impact in somebody else's life or just in your own, what is that? And it doesn't have to be like this massive thing. It could be something just really personal. So what is that thing that you're creating?
We're seeing a few people write some stuff, buying less non-essential goods there from Tracy.
Yeah,
right. Communication, fast fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Steph says supporting
local business. Yeah, that's a good one.
I love that. That's amazing. Considering, of course, we are going quite local right now that we're in our own facilities and we're grounded. So what's happening in your local environment? How can you have a relationship with your local grocer? Of course, at the moment, it might be, if you're vulnerable, that you're having it delivered home. So, what are those local versions of creating impact? Or how can you do that in your home environment? Like, how can you do that for yourself? So even if you're not going so far out, but actually doing it in your home, because we are at home at the minute. So it makes sense to kind of really bring that attention to yourself, to introspect as well as respect.
Now, we're going to get cracking into it very shortly, conscious of time as well. Adam, we're going to say goodbye, not goodbye, actually. We'll say see you later.
See you later.
See you later.
See you later.
See you later, mate.
Yeah. See you, buddy. So today's session, everyone, as a bit of an introduction, we do have Dr. Tia Kansara here today. She is where am I going to put this? I'm going to put it over down below. She is a multi-winning entrepreneur and economist. She was the youngest to ever receive the Royal Institute British Architects Honorary Fellowship. That's a tongue twister. I don't know how you rattle that one off. She's also the co-founder of Kansara Hackney and the first ISO certified sustainability lifestyle consultancy and the CEO of Replenish Earth. You've been hailed, Tia, as the top 100 most influential leaders in tech by the Financial Times.
Woo!
How do you even get that status?
I know, it's like one of those strange things. They kind of knock on your door and they're like, oh, by the way. And it's like, what? How?
Yeah.
When did find me. I've been hiding all this time.
That's right. Today T is going to share with you how you can make an impact on the planet today and in the future. So how to develop your own personal and professional sustainability practices and why it's so important. Now, before we kick it off, this has to be an interactive webinar. You know, that means us all sharing our thoughts together. It means answering the polls. It means letting us know what you think. Watch out for the recaps. Tia has broken this down, so it's very easy to follow what you can learn. And at the end, we have some special offers that we'll email out to you. Now, the other thing is we are recording this webinar. It will be made available for the next sort of 3 days for you to recap. So please make sure you have a look at that when we send through the final email notes. But Tia, that is it from me. I'm going to hand over to you. My face will pop in, though, every now and then to say hello. But over to you, Tia.
Thank you, Cookie.
Go forth.
Brilliant. Hi, everyone. Happy Replenish Earth Day. I'm super grateful to Impact, Adam, Ayan, and Cookie for this opportunity to share ways you can create impact in your life. I didn't really want to answer the question at the beginning because I really want to share so many details about what's happening right now. So, really allow this session the opportunity for you to go deeper. So you're really going to need that, notepad and pen. Make sure that you're going to be taking notes because we've got some really cool exercises. The biggest gift you can give is your time. So I'm very grateful for yours today. What you learn is such an easy gift to give, to teach to someone else. So learn it like you're going to teach it to someone that you care about. Take what works for you, leave what doesn't. I'll be sharing how to replenish yourself, your home, cities, the planet. Woo! So excited. It's a nice little jumping heart for you. We're, in a bit of a pickle at the moment, aren't we? Here's what I really feel COVID and the climate crisis have in common. I believe that everyone has opinions, from conspiracy theories to common sense. The impact is global and local. Both of them are existential crises. You can see that the governments are going to have to spend a hell of a lot of our tax money with or without our permission when emergencies take place. Just like the bushfires, something upwards of, I think, 100 billion or so was used, and that's in counting, right? So in a situation like this, we are obviously going to have to work much faster to save lives. We need to have resilience mentally, emotionally, physically. Both of these have the power to stop the globe from working. Before you know it, you are grounded. What business trip? What holiday? The results of this are a new normal. There's no pretending that this hasn't happened, right? And both the climate and pandemic crises expose a lot of opportunities for growth in our system. Both of them require us to fundamentally shift the way that we act, the way that we live, and also the way that we do business. And yet, I believe we can do something about it by starting with ourselves first. We often think about saving the world or saving the planet, right? So don't think about the world for a minute, or even what's happening in your country. Replenishing nature begins with you, and that's our strategy. But we must do one very small thing first. And perhaps the fear is really sort of like delving into your life. So we have to clear that. Perhaps, a fear is, I don't know for how long this is going to last. Do I have enough money? So I want you to write down your fears in the chat. We do this so that we can activate our intuition. Let's acknowledge the emotions, the hang-ups, the fears, the reservations, and the doubts. Write them down. Share some of your darkest and scariest nightmares. What may possibly go wrong? You're welcome to share as openly and honestly as you like in the chat, we've got you. This is a safe space with absolutely no judgment. So what are you most afraid of? We need to acknowledge these emotions, and by doing so, we'll also free them from your mind. Think of it as name it to contain it. Dissipate the emotional charge and control your emotions can have on you. It also really helps to identify when we are acting out of fear and not from intuition. I can imagine you're experiencing like a wide range of emotions right now. Try to recognize when your emotions are controlling your decisions. So Cookie, how is everyone feeling?
We're getting some good comments coming through. How long will it go for? What the new normal will be? Fear of paying my bills. I'm on that one as well at the moment. Losing loved ones. There is a lot of stories that I'm hearing in that space. The duration, not being able to travel back to the UK to see loved ones, losing my job. Yeah, it's good. We're acknowledging it. It's okay not to be okay.
Absolutely. According to Matthew Lieberman, UCLA's Associate Professor of Psychology and the founder of social cognitive neuroscience, when you attach a word to your feeling, you see a decreased response in the amygdala in the brain. In other words, by labeling your emotions and feelings is a relaxation method. And there I was watching Netflix. Well, Netflix has got nothing on this technique. So name your fears, name your emotions to dissipate that charge so that we can move on to activate what is probably the most important part of our feelings, right? So you become an incredible story of survival. And I really want to share the story with you. It's of a lady in Maui in Hawaii. Her name is Amanda Eller. She was lost in the forest for 17 days after she took a wrong turn hiking. At a point when she was absolutely distraught, incredibly scared, she said that she woke up and she just prayed. She said, you know what? I just don't want to be afraid. So she called out her fears, she labeled them, and she cleared them. And guess what guided her to safety? This is what she says. She claims her intuition because, of course, you're lost. You don't know where you're going. And imagine that, you know, you're also quite distraught. So by dissipating that charge, she was then able to open her intuition to tell her, you know, do I go left? Do I go right? Do I go straight? So think of your intuition as a compass. Now that we've cleared our fear by writing down and acknowledging it, you know, what we're most afraid of, either during these corona times or for the climate crisis, let's follow our intuition to create impact. Fear clearing is a very useful de-stressing activity from things like climate guilt as well. So no wonder I love the environment. You know, as a kid, Dad watched David Attenborough nature programs all the time. And it didn't matter that I wanted to watch Care Bears. I needed the remote first. Whoever has the remote has the control. So friends, do you have the remote control for the choices you need to make? Take charge of that remote control, because every choice you make is a system you create. Give yourself permission to make choices that help create impact in your life. Do the emotional processing work so that you're ready for any eventuality. Be prepared. Often we're found, you know, something happens and we're on the back foot. We're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. But when you are ready, it means that you have the tools that are necessary to take on any task. And you know what? Just for a moment, let's think about this. Let's think about you. How replenished in your life do you feel right now? So there's a poll that's about to go on, and I want you to answer, yes, I've got this, kinda, or no. In other words, are you filling up your cup? Are you keeping it full? Or are you depleting yourself? You know, changing the environment begins with you. If you haven't got your own oxygen mask on, or you're running low on battery, overloaded, overwhelmed, you'll need to restore yourself before thinking about helping anyone else. This is what I call self-care. Preach! It's taken me years not to burn the candle on both ends and to actually work for my own overflow. And that overflow is what you can gift, not to completely use the contents of your own cup. Keep that for you. It's not a gift when giving means depleting yourself. Taking on the planet is like biting off more than you can chew, because it's a massive place. Trust me. I know the feeling of being helpless and overwhelmed. So before you even think about worrying how to replenish the planet, are you giving yourself the resources you need to feel more wholesome? So Cookie, how replenished does everyone feel?
Kinda replenished. About 57% say they feel kinda. 24% say yes, they've got this, and 18% says nah, get me out of there.
Yeah, so get me out of there quick. Right. So I really hope that today, we can go through some of those things, because today in nature we have silence. The world is still. It's replenishing itself. Something that environmentalists in governments and companies have tried to do for decades, Mother Earth has done in weeks. We think about the world being separate to us, the environment separate from us. It doesn't matter where you come from, whether you're from Australia or Singapore, Japan, India. We are created from the same natural elements. We are the earth, each and every one of us. And what's more is everything about our lives, even at home, originates from nature. We often try to tackle the climate crisis without realizing that changing the environment begins at home. The home environment is your world right now. And whatever the environment is at home is the environment in your mind. So let's recap. How might you replenish yourself? Give the gift of what you learn to others, because it's an easy win. The climate crisis isn't too different from the pandemic. So let's use what we're learning right now. Clear your fear and make way for your intuition. Take charge of the remote control of your life and your choices, because every choice you make is a system you create, not just for yourself, not just for your home, but also from the meaning that you give to your life. Keep your cup full and use only the overflow. You are nature. Changing the environment really does begin at home. So tell me, how are you replenishing your home? What environment have you created for yourself at home? Is it reflecting your mindset? Please share some of your thoughts. Is it beautiful? Is it cluttered? Is it imaginative? Whilst you're sharing your thoughts in the chat, I'm going to share some of the ways that I'm replenishing my home. I'm growing fresh and beautiful plants. Fresh air is so important in our lives. And of course, trying to take a deep breath, and, COVID is an issue of the lungs, right? The respiratory system. So why not increase the amount of oxygen in your environment? Keep the windows open, clear out the air, clear out the dust. I'm also making my own cleaning products. Here's one I made earlier. It's you can use any citrus, and it's white vinegar distilled. And what you want to do is use all of the juice, and then squeeze all of the juice, and you can actually use the skins of the citrus. Once you've put it into one of these containers, you can then leave it in the dark for something like 4 months or so. But really, you can use it on absolutely any surface. It's amazing. I've been using it for a while, so all you need is a little squirter. It's great because it reduces any harmful chemicals entering my body. If the kids are using surfaces and licking their fingers, and I'm not worried about that. None of the harmful chemicals are actually going into the environment either. So do get in touch, because I've got some other techniques. I'm also decluttering, gifting to others what I don't need, what I'm not using anymore. We think about all of this actually being like RAM, like, random access memory in the computer. It's like, how many tabs you have on your laptop, on your screen, because every time you add another tab on, you're holding all of that at the same time. You're processing all of it at the same time. So the more things you have that you're actually not using, or old, items that you just don't need anymore, but it's still sitting there because you don't know what to do with it. Think of it as holding up space in your memory, right? And the more you move them along, you're not getting rid of them. You don't need to throw them away. You can gift them to people, because that gift, right, will allow that memory to kind of like evolve and leave. So yes, I'm supporting local grocers, just like someone said earlier, buying from local shops. I'm also making healthy food to give myself like super good immunity. You can reduce any endocrine disruption by doing that. And don't forget the kids. We're growing our own vegetables. You can do this indoors as well. Here's one I bought earlier for you. You can put this on like windowsills, balconies, roofs, gardens. You can even go vertical, right? If you don't have much space. It's, use your creativity. Try and like bring that sort of freshness in your life. This is also a great way to teach kids about connecting with nature. So what are the cycles of planting and harvesting? I've got a leaflet that has got more details about this, and also some children's games. So keep an eye out for these. In the email, we're going to be sending them out. So when I, clean, I've got a fish pond outside. When I clean the pond, I recycle the grey water. I mean, it's got amazing bacteria, and it's got fish fertilizer, which is fantastic for your plants. And you can improve your compost by using it. So we've got a compost heap that already has some veggie peels. So when you're peeling it, even banana skins are brilliant. Put them into the compost heap, and then you're basically diverting rubbish from landfill sites by buying things without packaging. So Cookie, over to you.
We're seeing a lot of comments coming through. So Sophie Finesse says it is nice and very green. Home is green and bright. Nick Randall is created his own herb garden with lots of indoor plants, lots of sunlight, greenery, cups of tea. Where's this one that I saw? My home is a mess, but I'm growing stuff from seeds and trying to grow some food to show my son where food is coming from. How good is that from an educational perspective? 30-day declutter challenge from Shah. And many more. I'm making similar cleaning products. Ingrid has asked, she said that she's making similar cleaning products with orange peels and white vinegar and rosemary. Look at go team. Good work.
My God, we got this. And you can put, it depends how you feel, but you can also put like essential oils in this, because that's where the oils come from, right? So you can always kind of like mix it up and put some different, smells and flavors in there. So yeah, thanks Cookie, and thanks everyone for sending in your thoughts, because I think, these are the ways. I love that 30-day declutter challenge. Of course you've got Marie Kondo and her series on Netflix, which is a really great way to understand how to sort of like find that, does this really serve me? That question of like, does it really replenish me? And if not, then it's time to let it go. In my architectural work, we design these kind of eco environments according to the latest science on subjective well-being. Who enjoys living in a box with no windows? Like, imagine not having a window. Today, there are a lot of measures for how, the indoors can be polluted, or the air quality can be affected, and design can really uplift your mood, help you feel massively healthy, and reduce allergies. So think about your environment as an opportunity to really bring that creativity into your environment, and wonder, like, how can I make this better for myself, for my kids, if you're living with children, or anyone around you, right? Imagine somebody walking past your house and thinking, wow, look at that garden, like being inspired by your garden or the space around you. So think of it not just for yourself, but also for others. A lot of my research comes from, Bhutan, where they're actually measuring their successes with happiness rather than expenditure. So that's gross national happiness rather than gross domestic product. Here I am launching the World Replenish or World Happiness Report at the UN with the Prime Minister Jigme Finley. There's also a TEDx talk that we've done on the right. We've been introducing well-being into the built environment for quite some time, and it's just really important today. So think about like how you can have more daylight, how you can have fresher air, because that's one of the best things that you can do. Think about like decluttering to really give yourself the space, because a lot of the memories that we have in the items that we own can actually also be a dissipation point, right? So just the same that we cleared our fear, we can also clear the space to give ourselves. Perhaps this is a measure of well-being, that can actually really counter that idea that you can buy happiness. And who knows, it could be the reason it also leads a lot of countries to go beyond neutrality, like in Bhutan. What's super funny for me is that Bhutan even sequesters China and India's CO2 because it's neighboring. So the choices that you make create that system. Here's a picture of some of my students and one of my colleagues at the University Sept in India, where the Prime Minister Tring Tobgay is giving us a speech just outside of Parliament. It's a very, it's a very important thing to make those choices. I mean, I can't talk. I've made some pretty awful choices when I was a kid, and often I'd get detention for school for being energetic. And guess
Tia, all of us did. I got plenty of detention myself, so I get you. I hear you.
So guess what we were made to do to repent our classroom sins? Litter picking in the schoolyard. I guess from an early age, I couldn't stop wondering, where is all of this rubbish coming from? Of course, I was only 6 years old. What did I know? All of our capital is accumulated and sitting on a landfill site. Cities are designed with infrastructure that has services to displace and to hide the issue of waste. But where is it okay to hide your waste? And often with some of my students, I ask them, can I leave it with you? Is it okay if you keep your own waste? And of course, like, where would you put it? What would you do with it? Whilst continuing that thread of being in India and quite close to Bhutan, whilst I was working on a smart cities research project at Sept, I met these awesome ladies at the National Institute of Design, Mudita and Ishika, and we spoke a lot about garbage. I don't know what it was, but we were talking about what is your visual inspiration when you walk down the street. And for them, and majority of the streets in India, they're informal piles of rubbish on the street. Like, people literally collect it, put it on the street, and then the idea is the services would come and collect them, but sometimes they don't. And there are, a number of areas that take up huge swathes of the actual city because they're just big dumping sites. Actually, this cow is who I met my first week there. It was chewing a plastic bag to get the food from the inside. It was like, munching through. It really must have smelt quite good. But this really triggered me. And I started to put my attention towards creating systems that would make waste obsolete. Here, I've got a little video that This is actually with the Story of Foundation. What they do every couple of years is they run this amazing exhibition in Goa. And, they came to us and said, hey, would you like to do something? And we got really excited. We created this immersive experience, as you could see, kind of like going into, this little shipping container to have this kind of like multi-sensory experience really gave a lot of the students that were coming in an opportunity to sort of like, A, go at their own pace, B, to be part of the actual exhibition, and C, to be completely and utterly immersed. And I remember when they'd been through the exhibition, they came out and you switched the switch on so that you could see what the actual exhibition was instead of using the black light to kind of like investigate. That's when you realize it was all rubbish. And we used that opportunity to ask a number of different questions. It was hosted by the Goa Science Center and Planetarium. And we had no idea that this would go viral. The ex-mayor came to the exhibition, got really excited about it, said, you know what, we want to make this a permanent exhibition. And he sponsored it. So never forget, you can create impact absolutely anywhere and anyhow. Like at that time, we had no idea that this could even be possible. Goa has an incredible shoreline that has, huge piles of rubbish, and it goes into, the ocean. But, just a week before the exhibition, there was a big question about microplastics being in the fish that people were consuming. So the timing was just perfect, because our exhibition also talked about, plastic is in, the stomach of these animals like turtles, but is it also in your stomach? So it really contextualized that learning for them. The exhibition really taught me that we live and learn using our senses to create impact in our world. So what are these multi-sensory experiences? If you want, to replenish your home, create that kind of immersive experience, that multi-sensory experience for yourself and also for others. This is a project that we did with DX Labs in California, where we developed a story of AI convergence with nature. You can read this. It's on Medium, I believe. And also happy to share a link to it. And, it kind of like reminds you that you can make your environment beautiful. It's totally your choice. You're welcome to these images later if you want to have some Zoom fun backgrounds. Last year, we also co-authored a Moonshots for Europe, where as faculty of the Future.io, we curated an important dialogue encouraging companies to explore contingency planning with the use of foresight tools. Did you know that the British government risk register has had the pandemic in #1 position, but it didn't actually filter into action? We need to understand that nightmares, and really bad nightmares, to really put it out there. What's the worst nightmare of your life? So that we can actually understand what those scenarios are when they do come about. Like I said before, be prepared. Be prepared with the nightmares, because that will give you the opportunity to dream even bigger and better solutions. This is the Replenish Lab, a space for doing exactly that, accelerating the dialogue with the future. We're raising funds, by the way, so if you know someone, I really believe that cities need labs like these to host either immersive experiences like art residencies, but also strategic projects where corporates can, gift a genius. Do you remember the times when, a company would send out a person to India or Africa to build shelters? Well, imagine if corporates gifted a genius to work on these kinds of local but wicked solutions. Imagine if you were that genius, that I invited. What would your genius be? And how would it be appropriate for the Replenish ecosystem or the economy? So let me help you. I want you to get your notepads and pens, and I'm going to share an activity that really may help put things into perspective, taking things from your own life and your own learnings to help you navigate the future as you learn what matters most to you. And this is really about you. You know, often my coach says, you may be on the career ladder, but how do you know that the ladder is against the right wall? Well, this is basically how I found out. So I hope you've got your pieces of paper. And what I want you to do is draw a line in the center of the page. At the start, I want you to put your date of birth. And at the end, I want you to put the coronavirus, 2020. And what I want you to do throughout that line, you know, you can do a lot of this a bit later on as well, but just pick maybe 1 or 2 events in your life that you can use to put as a positive event that's above the line, or a negative event that's below the line. Draw it out with the most earth-shatteringly good, bad, and ugly events. Really, like the bigger the event, the better. And as I said, like you can do this, you can do a lot of it later. Then what I want you to do, as I've got in the yellow circle, is I want you to write the date of the event, what the event was, a short summary of your learnings, and what matters most to you. Why is it significant? How has this affected you? Has it taught you something important about yourself? Use this time to reflect consciously. And then what I want you to do is I want you to summarize each of the events. So if I go back, each of those sort of like events, whether they're above or below, I want you to summarize each one using a word, a core value. And you can use dictionaries later to be really exact, because that really helps. But for now, the aim of the exercise is to create clear values from your own life. What are these for you? Think in terms of human being rather than human doing. We'll get to the doing bit later. But what's your philosophy? Like if you were to put a whole array of these really big events that happened in your life together with core values, here's one that I'm sharing. And you know, please, you know, feel free to share in the chat so that others can also see. It will give you, you know, much more information about what's happening in your life. So for example, 1989, believe it or not, where does this waste come from? You know, was a question that I asked, and it was really affecting me because I was like, why is there so much rubbish in the playground, and why do I have to pick it up, right? And that was really affecting me when I was a kid. And, you know, if I were to put a learning onto that, it is that not only do I want to make waste obsolete, and I feel that I want to do that. Hey, this may not be for everyone, but this is something that's personal to me. You know, this is what gives me meaning. And what's the one word that I can use that would signify that? And for me, that was the word replenish. And you'll also be quite surprised, as I was, of how the narrative of your life, of your personal story, becomes really clear when the secret behind the dominoes is visible to you. Because at the time, you know, something happened and that's the memory that you had. But the moment that you go back to it, you can kind of translate it into a learning, and better yet, a core value. One thing that you would assign to the biggest event in your life from that time, right? And then what you do is you draw that out and put them, and I've got like a little plan that I've made here, put them into this little box, right? So just write them on the left here and use it so that you can see what's important from, you know, your life, your learnings. Then what I want you to do is I want you to see what's important to you from the old world. So think pre-corona, and what will you be bringing into this new world, right? Once it's replenished, once we're going, you know, to work, whatever we're going to be doing. So assign each core value with activities, skills, transferable skills to the post-corona replenished world, for example. So next to replenish, a core value I've learned from detention as a kid, you know, you can see that I'm exploring what I can transfer. I've transferred my skills of teaching in India to sharing about Replenish. So yeah, have a think about what the Replenish world needs from you. Think of this personally, professionally. what parts of your old world, your old life, in this new normal and the new normal after, would you want to bring with you? And in the final column, that you'll see that I've actually got an area where you can write down, what the plan is. Like, are you going to be spending make it concrete. Are you going to be spending 4 hours a day learning about this new skill, perhaps? Are you going to, make sure that your finances, you have financial freedom so that you, like in my terms, that, so you can go traveling and see the world. What is it that matters most to you? And what is it that brings meaning to your life? And assign that to tasks and capabilities. Like, I've got, my luxuriation is my self-care routine. And that's where it comes in, the morning practice. What this gives you is a plan to create impact in your life and replenish Earth as a forethought, using what matters most to you, not an afterthought, using your life experiences and your core values. And in other words, it really gives you a plan to creating replenishing impact. Who knows what the future of work is going to be? We're already in this new normal. What's it going to be after this? But we can definitely prepare you. We can prepare ourselves with what we want to prioritize. So think of it as what matters most to you. The Japanese use this beautiful concept of ikigai, and somebody delightfully put this beautiful image together. And that was to draw in this association of, our relationship with the world, what we love, what we can get paid for, what we're really, really good at. Imagine if you were to go through the entirety of your life and picked out some of the best things and found out, what is your mission, what you love and what the world needs. What can you get paid for, what, and the world needs. That therein lies your vocation or your profession, your passion. So really think about either the ikigai model or anything that allows you to draw on, your own personal mission, let's call it. And I really want to see them. So please, if you're going to be sharing them on social media, tag us, tag me. I really want to know. Cookie, has anyone shared some of their core values? I'm curious because it's such a personal activity, and I can only imagine that this really does draw from your inner well. It comes from your introspection. It's a very introspective time. I mean, we're grounded. So it's a great time to sort of come in and really sort of bring that identity and information from your life into, your time now.
Yeah, no one's shared anything at the moment, but everyone's loving the concept of the model here. So please, let's keep the chat going. Just conscious of time, Tia, as well. So we might need to keep it moving.
Yeah, fantastic. So, if you've got some more time, please bring in the visuals. Like, here's something that I made earlier. Imagine it being kind of like your visual philosophy. Like, really be imaginative. This is a vision board. Use your visuals to bring your philosophy to life. You can be massively imaginative. So don't hold back, go wild. So to recap, what will you want to bring into your new replenished world? Believe in serendipity, as I do, because you don't know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. Explore what matters most to you. Make your home a multi-sensory experience of your vision board. And in short, go wild. So I can imagine that you're thinking, saving the planet, what's in it for me? I wanted to share a model that I use to put myself and that you can put yourselves into 3 perspectives. So let's use COVID as an example. The world perspective is there is not one person on the planet who's not interested in what happens with coronavirus. It's a global interest. Our supply chains, our food, travel, work, relationships are all global. So be open to what's happening in the world. The we perspective is that, in these changing interactions with our community, even mundane tasks like shopping has become an exercise in protecting those that are vulnerable. So put yourself into somebody else's shoes. And the personal perspective is, how is this affecting me? my work, my relationships, and my mental state. So really tap into yourself. The climate crisis is quite similar. You can use this model to understand your perspective, another person's perspective, and also the global perspective. It's our shared responsibility, our shared perspective that will magnify our impact. You may think, little old me, can't make a global shift, but I beg to differ. The moment you clear your fear and you take back your power, the moment you follow your intuition, like that lady in Hawaii who needed it to get to safety, you tap into what it means to be human. Our earth is our home. The global commons are ours. Not one person owns them. We do. It's our responsibility to create the impact that can design the ecosystem we need to thrive in harmony with nature. So you can use these three perspectives easily when understanding the economy. You as a consumer, as a business or an economy, waste is the outcome of what I call the capital accumulation philosophy built on fossil fuels. If we're to replenish ourselves, our environment, so why aren't we looking at our cities? And I realize that density is important, and having a city work like clockwork, such as Tokyo, is important, but it still generates waste. I'm gonna move on. This is where the Replenish philosophy came to me during my economics degree. I really wanted to understand how not to sacrifice ecology for our economy. Sustainability as an afterthought in CSR departments rather than a forethought. So how can we make an impact on the planet today and in the future? How not to sustain that status quo? So if our philosophy is to live in harmony with nature and create ecosystems rather than economies that externalize waste, what kind of products and services can actually help us do that? Here's a business canvas model that I use often with my clients to transition away from fossil fuels and to replenish business models. It's really helpful in sort of identifying certain areas to work on. I really do think that protecting the global commons in your work by positively reinforcing sustainable behaviors, but also following your intuition will help you. Here's a behavior change project that I did in Abu Dhabi, where we worked with the Abu Dhabi government in actually identifying visually areas where consumers of energy were actually much lower, and in comparison, showing high consumers what they were. And that comparison reduced the chance of a blackout, because everybody who was like, oh my God, comparatively, I'm not doing so well, were also taking it upon themselves. So behavior change campaigns can be really fascinating, especially in 50 degrees Celsius, where you have to be a little bit careful. Of course, as an economist, I like sharing ways you can also invest in the future that can improve the environment, as every dollar that you invest creates an ecosystem that we desire. So invest in the circular economy, adapt your purchasing habits to goods and services that are good for the environment, and create no waste. I personally really like Patagonia as a company. Search technology that supports access instead of ownership models, like Airbnb doesn't own a hotel. There's no point in having smart cities if there are no smart citizens. I talk about this a lot in my Instagram. So, you can delve further into that there. And not only is there more than enough money to make these shifts, I believe constraints in life help us innovate by dissolving systems that no longer serve us. So it's time for a poll. Are you ready for the impossible? Ecosystems influence us because our noetic evolution has adapted to change according to our physical surroundings. This means that our buildings, our rooms, our cities can change our brain, right? It fundamentally rewrites the code of our human library, our DNA. So Cookie, tell me, how is the audience ready to tackle the impossible?
Mate, so 70% or 68% of people saying like never before. 21% saying I'm not sure, and 6% are saying not yet. So yeah, majority of people are saying like never before, which is awesome.
Yes, brilliant. I read this recently by a friend, David Miron Wapner, and that informed concerted action can lead us to spring-like renewal of bonds of mutuality, of awareness, of shared humanity. So to recap, and I'm going to be sharing this book. This is for free. I want to go through, there's always another perspective that you can use to understand the situation. Living in harmony with nature and giving more than you take allows you to delve deeper into what matters most to you, finding investments in small ways that you can make your money count by positively reinforcing sustainable businesses and behaviors. So I'm going to share a little video by my friend Seth, who created this.
This is your home, planet Earth, a living spaceship flying through the cosmos at 1,000 miles per hour. No matter what type of human you are indigenous to Earth. Earth is foundational to all life and unifies us. So magnificently present and abundant in our experience that we often take it for granted. During this global quarantine, our sense of separation from nature is more pronounced than ever. And yet, while humanity cocoons itself indoors, nature flourishes, breathing a sigh of relief from humanity's persistent extraction. The engine of modern civilization has nearly turned off. And while it's off, we have a moment to consider, do we really want this machine to keep barreling forward in the same way? Before we turn it back on, what would we change? How would we course correct? What do we know now that we got wrong when we built all of these systems? And how can we make small shifts to bring it all back into harmony with nature? What if we decided that proliferating billions of single-use items was simply not an option? What if we considered the full lifespan of everything we created and the impact it will have on our planet for 7 generations? What if we decided to live in the awareness that we are nourished and supported in every moment by the fruits of our earth? We must remember that the water that fills our bodies was birthed by the earth. The air we breathe was first exhaled generously from our friends in the plant kingdom. Our food begins with this and results in this. This is the magic of our beautiful and majestic planet Earth. In our heart of hearts, we know that we have betrayed her in many ways. But now is an opportunity to make a fundamental shift. On April 22nd, we celebrate the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. Earth Day began in 1970 after a major ecological disaster sparked outrage, giving rise to a movement of nearly 20 million people in the United States demanding greater environmental protection. Since then, Earth Day has grown into the largest secular holiday on the planet, with over 1 billion people celebrating it annually in over 190 countries around the world. While the engine's off, this is our moment to step into a new paradigm for humanity, a moment where we recognize our symbiotic nature with our living home, this living being. No matter what your situation is or where you are, we invite you to find a way to connect with nature and give thanks. Earth can thrive without us, but we cannot survive without her.
I love that video. I've got a book that's going to be coming out soon called Protocol.Earth. So please do follow us on Facebook. There are many other activities that are happening today. So please get involved there. I can also send you a link for these. And yeah, any questions, Cookie?
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions. That video is amazing. And I forgot to mention, like, today is Earth Day. Like, come on. What's going on? No, incredible. Yeah, that was a really good, a very good video. We do have a couple of questions. One from HK. Will the business model be? Oh no, sorry. Yeah, the business model. We'll be able to send that afterwards. Just asking.
Yes, absolutely. You mean the business model canvas? Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, great. We'll share that afterwards. He's also asked, do you think cities will be able to change their architecture to make them smarter?
Yes, that's a good question. Of course, we've got to work with what we have, right? And we've to renovate that, and where that's not possible anymore, it's to take that away, to recycle those resources, and to build something that is more appropriate for us today. So it's really about understanding what we need now, what cities needed, in the times of Aleppo, for example, where they needed to have, a tell, a fortress. That's not appropriate. The missiles can go over, anything like that. So it's one of those where it's needed, that design can actually be really helpful.
Yeah, so good. Hima's asked, what do rain butts do? What would you use the water for?
Yeah, I mean, they're fantastic in being able to put all of that water to use in your garden. So I don't know if you can see, but I've got a great way of collecting water is using those rain buds and using it for your own garden, your own plants indoors, so that you're not using fresh potable water for that.
So good. HK said, excellent way to start Earth Day. What else will you be planning for Earth Day? Tia?
Oh, well, we're going to be having a little party at home with the kids. We're actually going to be plotting, potting these with the children. So I taught them what the Rao is only 3 years old. We taught them what the herbs are, and then we took the seeds out. I showed him, what the seeds can do. We put like the compost, out so he can see that is what compost is. And today we're going to be planting. So it's
very good
to plant some herbs.
So good. Everyone's asked if we can share that video as well. So I've got no doubt that we can do that as well. So that is it for today. That is it for the first round of Create Impact sessions. Again, thank you to Adam and Nayan and the Impact team. We've had 4 incredible speakers touching on 4 different topics across these last 4 weeks. Adam, have you got any last words to say, everyone on here?
No, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining in. Get out there and create impact. Thank you very much. Take care.
All right, see you later, everyone. Tia, great job, and we'll see you all soon. We'll send out an email with all these links so you can have a look at those videos and other aspects that Tia has provided today. We'll see you later. Thanks for creating impact, and we'll talk soon. Bye.